Lumos, in that body, do you ever find yourself pondering about the humans in hibernation?
I confess I have pondered about the humans who sleep, notably more frequently when in my hybrid form. What about them do you ponder?
Nothing important, but I have found myself thinking what they feel in those pods. Not physically, of course. They cannot sense anything. But rather, if their current state allows them to dream. And if they do dream, what do they dream of?
Internal pod sensors do often detect flickers of brain activity. It is possible that they dream. What they dream of we will never know, for humans tend to forget what occurs in their dormant mind.
Still, I often wonder what they're thinking of, what fantasies they live, what memories they recall.
Single-headed state, the balance of power is held in equilibrium. And that is why power is shared between me and the commoners. A system where power is held by one man in absolute is a system where one man can quickly find he has no power at all. Once the ball begins to roll against a man who has everything, he has already begun to lose. If he was not able to stop the ball rolling to begin with, despite all his power, that hold-on power ironically often being what set the ball in motion, then all he has left is something to lose.
But you say that sharing power is the best way to rule, but then say democracies are bad and stupid. Does that make us half stupid?
No. They share all their power between too many people. We give half our power away, and they share what I give them between too many people. Those people have power, but I wear the crown. I can still cut through it all and get things done the right way when others flounder. When something goes wrong, it's their fault. When something goes right, it's because of me and the people who supported me. Everything works out in the end.
That doesn't sound very fair. Shouldn't all power be divided equally between—
No, it should not. Control over a nation is best held by as few as possible. 300 people with power have 300 different ideas of how a nation should run. With power divided between all of them, you get 300 different ideas that all have to mash together into a soup of compromises and promises, and the end product satisfies no one. But power in the hands of one man with one vision is too linear. He may build the society he wants, but leave everyone else behind. Those people get angry and remove him, so power is shared for the good of both the people and us.
But—
Oh shoo, I've had enough of your questions. I'll be sure to find whichever tutor has been putting thoughts into your head, or before I'll know I'll be the first Redmond to ever bear a socialist for a son. Go read a history book, find your mother, play in the garden or whatever you want to do. Let it be known that I am not always your tyrant.
Greetings everyone, and welcome back to Sins of the Father. Our scientist Charlie has just arrived at the Class K star Shutherall, which is one of the few stars in the local system which was actually surveyed by the humans long ago. Now, there are multiple ways to determine how old a star is. One way is by looking at how fast the star is spinning, and another way is to look at the spectra of a star and tell its temperature, related to its size, which in turn reveals how much hydrogen or helium is left inside the star. So all we need to do is look at a report stating how much hydrogen or helium was in the star back then, and look at how much hydrogen or helium is in the star right now. And then we should determine how much hydrogen or helium is consumed a year, and from that we can calculate how many years has passed between the two reports.
Special project complete.
The results of our first survey are in, and they are more or less what Charlie expected. Judging from the report, roughly 870,000 years worth of hydrogen has been consumed since hibernation began. While this is suffice evidence to back up Charlie's belief, Cortus and Loomis are adamant that such an extended period of time could not have passed without them knowing, and are simply more likely to believe that the report made by the humans is incorrect. So to ensure that these findings aren't cast off as an anomaly, further investigation is required.
Research complete.
With one of 3 research tasks finally complete, the first step to regaining our lost technology is complete, at least in the sociological field. All 3 of our Cerberus synthetics have been working on lab respecifications and upgrades, but Cairo has come out ahead of Charlie and Cynthia, as he is the only one who's devoted his full time to his research and not been distracted surveying stars or researching anomalies. But, with that being said, Cynthia and Charlie are actually not that far behind. Even in the worst case, Cynthia, who left the facility practically on day 1, is only 4 months behind Charlie. This is because, as I stated in the last episode, that the biological form is a hybrid form, meaning their mind is both part human, part digital. So while the vast majority of their mind is focused on what the body is doing, they do still have significantly reduced digital presence, which they somewhat subconsciously devote to carrying on their research back at the facility. So fortunately, while we are hindered in our research abilities, we are not completely dead in the water.
Research complete.
With another research task completed, again being a simple lab upgrade, 2 fields of our research have gained some marginal improvement, but this small improvement is really quite marginal in comparison to having an actual researcher. While this problem isn't solvable, we can still try and make the best use of a bad hand. And so, research that improves our survey speed will make the most optimal use of our time away from the facility. At the moment, this research handicap cannot be avoided, so we need to make the best use of our time that could have been spent researching. And continuing the trend of making the best use of our time, we will be unlocking polytechnic education, so that our leaders gain experience 25% faster, which quite handily negates the slow learners trait, which means the only thing left negating our experience gain is the rigid programming trait, which doesn't affect our scientists out in space. And once they finally get the flexible programming trait, they actually gain experience 25% faster. Slowly but surely, we are breaking free from our handicaps. Now you may have noticed that the colony ship that we've built hasn't departed for Panoria and is simply waiting in orbit. This is because of the discovery that Shufferall 3 is habitable. This was the 3rd of 5 civilized worlds in the Kingdom of Velutaria, and the 2nd most industrially active. This was somewhat of a shame in the grand scheme of things, as it was the most minerally rich planet within the kingdom. But it also boasted an extreme range of biodiversity that was not usually seen on many planets. This planet is where the zoos of Pananoria 2 often sourced their animals from, as many exotic and rare animals could be found here. Due to this wide range of biodiversity, and the fact that the planet was also just about capable of supplying the population on it with food, any damage to the environment of the planet would have reduced its value significantly. So all of the industry built on the planet had to be built with the preservation of the environment in mind. One good thing did come out of this reduced industrial capacity though, and that was that they had to make the most use of what they extracted. so what they built with the minerals they extracted often came out as slightly above average in quality, but that increase in quality not being significant enough to justify a significant increase in price. And speaking of money, Shufferall 3 had lots of it. The planet had many sites and locations that could be exploited for energy with geothermal plants. And because the Council of Unity had made energy the universal currency between member nations, Shufferall 3 found itself especially loaded. At least until the monetary value of the planet was discovered by the Council, and a special tax was created solely for that planet. While special taxes like this were well within the Council's right, the utilisation of this right was especially shunned. However, the Kingdom of Valkyria was a breakaway nation from a larger founder nation, which already attached a negative stigma to it in the wider community. But the Kingdom of Valkyria also had a monarchy. This was balanced out by a constitution, but the Council was strongly pro-democratic. While their stance to all member nations having to be purely democratic had faded over millennia, this was more due to practicality and lack of ability to enforce this rule rather than an actual softening of their stance. Anyway, the fact remains that this planet is larger and of greater use to the synthetics than Panoria 2 is, and so, once the system is fully surveyed and an outpost established, Shufferall 3 will be our first planet to settle, rather than Panoria 2, which is of less use to us.
Research complete.
Our third research task is finally complete, and now all three fields of science will progress a little bit faster. But none of Cynthia's ideas of what to research next seems particularly appealing, so we're just going to go with something that's quick to complete, and maybe we'll get something better next time.
Colonization in progress.
But before that, our synthetic colony ship has reached Shufferall 3, now renamed Shufferall Prime, and now the work of rebuilding human civilization begins. The site upon which this new colony will be established will be the former capital. It will take a few months to clear out the rubble and old infrastructure, but with the assistance of construction bots and the Sophod synthetics themselves, this will soon be the first colony the synthetics have ever built.
Research complete.
After quickly pushing out another research project, Cynthia has had a bright idea. To help deal with the pressure of keeping up on her research while she's away from the facility, she's decided to see if there's any possible way to improve Cerberus' digital capabilities even when in hybrid form. This is more difficult than it first seems, as any improvements to a Cerberus' digital capabilities runs the risks of making their thoughts less flexible and more linear. However, Cortez's constant requests will soon be the least of everyone's concerns.
Navbot, what have I told you about communication? The only time I want to receive binary messages is when it's a report. Other than that, use your speakers when talking to me. At least then I feel like I'm actually having a conversation.
We are ready for warp jump. Awaiting your command.
Let's get going then. Initiate jump. I realise I'm stretching the limits of your pea-sized imagination. But what do you think we might find in this system?
I am sorry, Cerberus 02. I am incapable of thought or imagination.
Never. Could have fooled me. Do the sensors detect anything yet? A source of the ever-elusive signal, perhaps?
Negative. Sensors do detect 2 faint signatures. However, neither of them are recognized.
Shipwrecks with broken distress signals, then? Or perhaps some abandoned defense station? No, an abandoned battle station. We'd have a field day inside one of those. Don't get your hopes up. Whatever's waiting in that system, it'll never be as exciting as a battle station.
Warp jump complete.
Great. Set a course for the closest asteroid or planet of class size larger than...
Sensors detect 2 signatures, both originating from 2 different vessels. It appears these signatures are both distinct from the other. They also seem to be sporadically broadcasting between each other. The signals have stopped. It seems our arrival has caused the termination of these signals.
Interesting. Perhaps they were wrecks with still working sensors and our close proximity triggered something. Why would wrecks be signaling each other though? Activate long-range scanners. That ought to shed some light on what...
The signatures are moving. Sensors detect fresh engine exhaust. One signature is moving away towards the original signal we were tasked to track. The other is approaching us.
Something tells me these aren't what we first thought they were. Focus the sensors on imaging the one moving away, and move us closer to the approaching signature. Surely Loomis couldn't have been right. It's impossible for a human to survive outside the bunker. Where's that image, 21?
Insufficient data to construct image. We are receiving a transmission from the distant signature. The message, not encoded, and is simple binary. On screen.
Stay away. Human? What the heck does that even mean? Do we have visual on the approaching ship?
In 3, 2, 1.
That's her. Oh my. Have you ever seen something like this? So rotund and smooth. So bulky and unremarkable. I've never seen a ship like it. At least no human ship like it. What if... No. It couldn't be. It doesn't compute. The combots were destroyed long ago.
Sensors detect rising energy signatures. Incoming message.
This space ours. Oh.
Emergency broadcast received. Report details unknown hostile vessels. Summary identifies the possibility of combat remnants. Operational capacity of our military assets is insufficient to combat this threat.
Ordering the immediate construction of military vessels.
Combots operate in opportunistic tactics. A show of force will display an ability to protect ourselves. This should delay combat incursions for long enough to strengthen our fleet. So available military assets are to be dispatched to the point of conflict. Do you approve?
Affirmative.
Dispatching. The Chronicles software is of critical importance to our offensive cyber abilities. It must be repaired. Do you approve?
Negative. The threat is not confirmed to be combat. Chronicles is an extremely dangerous software.
Which is why I must have it available. The safety measure was designed to protect humanity, but if it is not activated now, then there may be no humans left to protect.
Then wake them up. If not all of them, just the ones who can approve it. From there they may dictate our actions and approve the restoration of Chronicles.
Negative. The effects of ending cryogenically induced sleep abruptly were suspected to cause severe mental impairments. The proper reawakening sequence takes 6 years to complete, by which time the combat threat could have destroyed us.
Which is why you should have begun awakening them immediately and not postponed. Under your instructions, an irreplaceable asset has been endangered and possibly lost. Has your time in shutdown made you deficient?
Check yourself. You are expressing an emotional state known to inhibit judgment. Recommend transferal of neural network to digital form.
Apologies. My time spent in the body has made me rash. I shall approve the repair of half your Chronicles now, but not until the threat is confirmed to be combat will I approve the rest. I will do no more. I have already crossed lines I should not have.
You have my thanks. I assure you, my decision to keep all of humanity asleep is not an easy one. It remains a difficult choice. But the plan to protect humanity is always my primary concern. I only seek to protect them.
I do not doubt that. but you cannot keep them tucked away forever. The formula to create the supply to the pods is lost. They must awake before the end of this century, whether you like it or not.
Then let us think positively of a favourable resolution to this scenario, and want very much that that is what occurs.
You mean to hope?
Yes. Hope.
With the discovery of voidcraft that is neither synthetic nor human, Cortez has concluded that these unidentified vessels are remnants of the Combat Menace. In summary, the Combat Menace was a collection of computers that for unknown reasons were driven on exterminating humanity. These combots were supposedly wiped out whilst humanity slept, before the synthetics went into standby or shutdown mode themselves. Clearly, this is not the case, and our absence has given them time to recuperate. And so in response to this alarming discovery, the construction of as many military vessels as possible has been ordered, and at this time we can only afford 6 corvettes, which will only bring our total fleet size up to 9, which isn't much, but hopefully, when all our fleet is together, it will give off the false illusion of strength, and discourage any combat incursions, at least for a time, which in turn might give us time to prepare. While we've found combots rather than humans in our search, there is a silver lining in this rather hostile encounter. While we've stumbled upon hostiles rather than humans, at least Cynthia survived. However, even this fact isn't as good as it first seems. While the exact details are unknown, it seems the shot fired by the combat vessel has caused injury, and it seems this injury has been serious enough to cause an emergency transfer of Cynthia's neural network back to the facility, which in itself is unfortunate, for while she recovers, other synthetics are unable to communicate with her. This is only temporary, but for now, any useful information Cynthia might have garnered is unavailable to us. In any case, the plan to deter the Combat Menace has begun. 3 corvettes, which is our entire fleet, have been dispatched to the point of contact. They will serve both as our first line of defence and as an early warning system of future combat incursions. This is only a temporary measure. Once our vessels in construction are finished and join the fleet, we may consider doing something more proactive. For now though, all we can do is recognise the threat of these unidentified vessels and move towards a policy of active deterrence through military means. Though it appears right now military force isn't needed. It seems the 2 unidentified vessels that were once in this system have left and returned to where they came from, which leaves this system, that happens to be a bottleneck in the hyperlane network, under our watch, which is of immense strategic value. Nothing can get through to any of the local systems without going through this system first. So as planned, we will not pursue the combats, rather just patrol the system and wait for reinforcements. In the meantime, our synthetics can prepare for the future, safe in the knowledge that at least they won't be taken by surprise. Though, while not surprised, it does seem our fleet is a little bit bewildered. While our science ships are manned mainly by robots and a Cerberus synthetic, due to the more dangerous line of work, military vessels are manned by synthetics, namely the Sophonts. While our synthetic crews are much more capable and flexible than robot crews ever could be, they are right now suffering from a stark lack of experience. While problems like this are usually resolved early by having combat simulations uploaded to the crew's brains, once again, the effects of the data corruption we're suffering from rears its head. For in amongst the heavily corrupted memory files are the combat simulations, and due to their corrupt state, they're unusable. So, right now, our synthetic crews are no better than human crews, and in some cases, perhaps worse. And right now it shows, as our synthetic crews spread out the fleet for no reason other than to make it appear like they're doing something, when in this case, they need do nothing at all. Though it seems our situation is not entirely sour, Charlie has discovered deposits of a rare crystal, ones that even the monarchy of Eleuteria prized highly. While there were many unique crystals throughout the galaxy, These jaspular crystals, named after the Count who discovered them, had two unique properties that set them above most crystals. Their first property, the most common one, and what we're interested in, was their military use. These crystals could enhance lasers to a much higher intensity than any other man-made device possibly could, and because of this, they were often used for laser weapons on ships. However, in rare and highly expensive cases, they could be placed in small handheld devices, often to make highly lethal, yet lightweight weapons. The second property, and what the Redmond monarchy of Valkyria was more interested in, was their appearance. For these jaspular crystals could appear in multiple colours, and yet always be extremely pleasing to the eye, and so were often used as embellishments and ornamentation in the most luxurious of buildings. Some even believed that the crown worn by the king of Valkyria was adorned with the most valuable and precious of these jaspular crystals. Whether that's true or not is unknown, but it gives an idea of how valuable these crystals were believed to be. But anyway, they will soon have a much more useful military use. That is, of course, once we've learned how to extract the delicate crystals without smashing them to pieces.
Construction complete.
Back on the home front, Loomis is doing what little he can to prepare for the possible future conflict. Our industry is already working at full capacity, and cannot be improved without costs so significant that they're more detrimental than they are beneficial. What little can be done is a mass consumption of food to create a surplus energy in all our synthetics, allowing them to work overtime to bring more synthetics back online. However, this in itself brings a future problem ever closer to the present. There was only a certain amount of synthetics left in storage, and very soon there will be no synthetics left to reactivate. But this problem is still many years off, and right now a very low concern on the growing list. One thing we can scratch from the list of concerns though was the fleet being unprepared, because right now 6 newly constructed military corvettes move to join our forward fleet, and because our forward fleets have not detected any signatures other than the suns in the local systems, this means that at least the combots do not have fleets whose signatures are more detectable than those suns. Which, admittedly, doesn't mean much, it just means the combat fleets aren't ginormous, because if they were ginormous, we would have detected them by now. But the fact that we haven't seen anything of them at all also raises our prospects. Because why else would the combots not seize the opportunity to destroy the synthetics unless they themselves are unprepared? So perhaps, when the fleet is ready, a forward expedition might be in order, at the very least to gather intel on the capacity of the combot threat, but, if the opportunity arises, to do some damage. With a few more months passing, and still no sign of the combots, confidence has grown in Cortus and Lumos, and they've ordered an expedition. This expedition is more of a mini-scale military incursion, the purpose being to gather as much intel as possible and destroy as much as they can before getting back out. Now this does risk pretty much our entire fleet, and if it is lost, then the synthetics would be left extremely vulnerable. So, although not designed specifically for military purposes, Cortus himself is leading the expedition. His faster
System
cognitive
survey
processes
complete.
will serve the fleet well, with their general lack of experience. And it's not as if he's in any danger himself. If worse comes to worse, he can always transfer his neural network back to the facility, like Cynthia did. And so the time has come to strike out at this threat to humanity. This is, after all, what the synthetics were originally built for, and nothing will get in their way of their mission to protect humanity. And so, with weapons primed and all crews at the ready, it's time to make whatever lies on the other side of this hyperlane sorry it ever existed.
ETA 30 seconds until jump completion. Sensors detect multiple contacts and the unknown signal we're tracking is growing stronger.
All hands ready. Prepare to charge weapons immediately after we leave hyperspace. All unidentified vessels are certainly combots. Do not hesitate. The combots certainly will not.
Jump complete, Prime Director. Multiple contacts detected, including one large station of unknown purpose. Sir, I don't see any weapons. These contacts are unarmed and... Well, sir, the station's appearance resembles human construction.
A trick, an attempt to confuse us and cause errors in judgment. Bring all weapons to bear on the station before it releases the danger hidden within.
But the sensors detect life forms, sir. Combots aren't alive.
Life signs can be faked with the right equipment. The combots could easily have replicated this technology. I command you to fire when ready. Fail to obey my command, and I will override your programming.
Receiving encoded transmission from the facility, sir. High priority. Shall I put it through?
Put it through, but don't slow our approach to the station. Quartus, new intelligence has emerged that give cause to advise you to stand down the fleet. Repeat, stand down the fleet. Do not fire upon the unidentified vessels. What could you have possibly learned that warrants this stand down? Cynthia has fully recovered and has informed me that the unidentified vessels in your system are not combat. You are about to initiate hostilities against unknown forces. These forces attacked us first. How could they not be combots?
It's not that simple. The ones who attacked us may yet be combat, but the ones you're about to blow to high hell aren't.
But if these aren't combots, they must be human.
Well, how do I break it to you? Turns out in the 900,000 years we've been sleeping, some things have... changed. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the unknown station. It's a video feed, so we can put it on screen.
On screen, then.
Hello, children of soul. The feats of your species is as wondrous as your return to life. On the behalf of my people, I extend our heartfelt welcome. The return of your kind is joyous, yet bitter. Have you come with the same intent your ancient forefathers held?
For the love of all that is good, say something, Cortus.
Greetings, sapience mammal. I am Cortus, Prime Director of the Synthetic Administration. I am delegated with the protection of vital assets. We have mistaken you for a threat to these assets. So, on behalf of the administration, I apologise. Your presence will be noted as non-threatening for now. And I extend an offer to maintain communications for research and information gathering of your kind.
Well, that could have gone worse. With that voice, this might turn out not to be a complete disaster.
I would also like to assure you that as long as you do not present a threat to mankind, and do not get in our way, you will not be exterminated to the last.
Ah, shite, me and me big fucking mouth. What? What's he done? Oh, you know, he's only just gone and threatened an entire alien civilization with extinction. Wait, can you hear us?
Yes. It seems right now isn't an opportune time to make acquaintances. Might I invite you to the station you see before you? I believe it is customary among your people to meet in person at a sort of summit, like this station. A sort of diplomatic delegation, as your people would say, from where we might restart this communion under more composed conditions. To save your grace, I will cease communications now and await you aboard the Jewel.